I'm Alexandra Nicholis Coon, Executive Director for the Massillon Museum. We have had the pleasure of hosting a thrilling act, The Art of Anthony Eterovich, from June 12th through September 26th, 2021. Having had the pleasure of working with Karen Eterovich McGuire, the daughter of artist Anthony Eterovich, and other galleries who are lending to this exhibition, the Artists' Archives of the Western Reserve, Art Neo, Bill Tregoning, and the estate of Anthony Eterovich, as well as from private collections, we were able to feature 65 artworks and artifacts representing the 70-plus years of Anthony Eterovich's career. Please enjoy the Massillon Museum's virtual walkthrough, which represents over 70 years worth of Eterovich's artistic career, from his earliest creations at age 12 through the end of his life. A special thanks go out to supporters, the Ohio Arts Council and Arts and Stark for their operating support, and to Visit Canton for their marketing support. Thank you as well to all of our corporate members and individual members, as well as the arts community who made this exhibition and so many others possible. For more information about Anthony Eterovich, visit www.artofanthonieterovich.org.
A thrilling act, The Art of Anthony Eterovich. Cleveland's identity as a steel town, a canal town, a railroad town, and a city sprung from the shores of a great lake gave way to its bustling atmosphere of laborers, entrepreneurs, and artists. Anthony Eterovich, 1916 to 2011, was an artist who sourced inspiration from both his environment and his mind's eye, at times combining the two in a surreal way. His connection to the industrial landscape of Northeast Ohio rooted his artwork in something bold yet authentic. Having lost his father at age 19, lived through the Great Depression, fought overseas during World War II, and taught for more than 30 years in the Cleveland Public Schools, his lifestyle and artwork reflected these indelible experiences that motivated an unshakable work ethic paired with a rich and prolific artistic career. This gallery assembles what might seem like abundant stylistic variation over the course of Eterovich's lifetime. As the Southern Ohio Museum and Cultural Center aptly stated in its version of the exhibition, quote, "Unlike many artists whose work develops in compartmentalized phases, Eterovich revisits and re-examines his different styles of painting throughout his life, expanding his visual vocabulary with each reevaluation," end quote. Whether portrayed through photorealism or abstraction, the artist's love of color is undeniable and exists as a connecting thread woven through 8 decades. Color will be something the viewer remembers from visiting a thrilling act. Although Anthony Eterovich was featured in solo exhibitions just twice during his lifetime, he seized every opportunity to submit paintings for consideration in galleries and museums throughout Ohio and New York. He was energized by exposure to new ideas and art sourced from travels, teachers, students, or his own imagination, and transformed these influences into unique interpretations. Whether his subjects were figurative, architectural, abstract, or dreamlike combinations of the aforementioned, Anthony Eterovich expertly approached both paper and canvas with a lust for life and a joyful spirit. Inspiration and influence. Born in Cleveland's Tremont neighborhood, Anthony Eterovich began drawing at the age of 3 and steadfastly celebrated his hometown in drawing and painting throughout his life. He was also influenced by his Croatian heritage and army map-making experiences during World War II. He admired the paintings of Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Edgar Degas, and Edouard Manet for their color, and Edward Hopper and Richard Estes for their depictions of cityscapes and photorealism. Eterovich studied under John Tyrrell and Victor Schreckengost at the Cleveland School for the Arts, since 1949 the Cleveland Institute of Art, where he received a full scholarship, earning a degree in portraiture in 1938. He secured a teaching job with the Cleveland Public Schools in 1941, but was drafted into the Army in 1943. After being honorably discharged in 1945, he returned to teaching while simultaneously furthering his own academic development. In 1947, Eterovich earned a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in art education from Western Reserve University, presently Case Western Reserve University. As an educator, Eterovich was less constrained by the commercial considerations besetting non-teaching artists, which allowed him to make art predominantly from his soul and not solely from economic concerns. This quality allowed him to connect effortlessly with his students, whom he inspired with his passion for art making. Though serious in his structure and approach to teaching art, Eterovich also possessed a sense of humor. A blurb appearing in the Lincoln Log School newspaper stated, quote, "Whenever students in A.W. Eterovich's first and second period art class are tardy on Mondays, they know better than to make an attempt to get into the room with merely a tardy permit. A tardy permit and at least 3 paintings or drawings are needed for admittance," end quote. Merging worlds. Heavily painted surfaces, agitated brushwork, and crowded canvases are seen in the 1950s and again at the end of Eterovich's career. The later paintings are every bit as fresh as the early canvases, but offer more resolution and define relationships between figures and their surroundings. During the mid-20th century, abstract expressionism had taken hold as a uniquely American art movement. Eterovich's canvases from this post-war period possessed the fervor and emotion that defined the style, but could be described less as abstract and more as dreamlike. In some, as in Little Italy and The Art Critic, he adds found papers as collage elements. Rich and bold use of color defined Eterovich's paintings, as do many references drawn from literature, theater, history, personal experience, and memory. These elements merge and intertwine in ways that seem both chaotic and harmonious at once. During a trip to New York City in 1950, Eterovich visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art and wrote in his journal under the heading, 20th Century Painters, that, quote, "In the permanent collection, many hallowed qualities I had formerly attributed to the old masters have now grown thin. For me, only Rembrandt remains firm. His power of perception, his graphic grip of so many subtle values and surprising color, he sees lived color, end quote. It was not long after this journal entry that Eterovich would paint Table Charade, 1951, on view in this exhibition. An oil painting that was favorably reviewed in the New York Times when he exhibited at Edith Halpert's Downtown Gallery in New York. Teaching how to see. Anthony Eterovich devoted more than half a century to art instruction. It is hard to deny the passion he had for teaching and sharing his talents when taking into account his 30-plus years in the Cleveland Public Schools, a decade into which he began an overlapping 44-year stint instructing evening, weekend, and summer art classes at the Cleveland Institute of Art. Students in life drawing classes were taught to observe the human form and apply traditional drawing skills, but were also encouraged to develop a visual interpretation all their own. George Cosman, an artist, lecturer, and former student of Eterovich, reflected on his teacher's methods and noted that among the elements of instruction he learned and incorporates in his own teaching are a committed passion for art, a willingness to demonstrate and to lead by example, and teaching how to see. For Cosman, quote, the idea of drawing from life living, moving human beings seemed to hold profound implications, a reflection of the human condition, end quote. Indeed, The inspired spirit with which Anthony Eterovich approached the human figure is evident in the energetic and fluid gestures he would often demonstrate alongside the student drawing exercises. Musings about Manhattan. Eterovich spent his life immersed in visual study, influenced by theater, post-war modernism, and later photorealism. His artistic livelihood was matched by that of his wife, Alice, a choreographer and dancer who also served as his muse. As a young married couple, they spent many summers in New York. While Alice took classes with the Martha Graham, Catherine Denham, and other dance companies, Eterovich studied and absorbed all that was happening in the visual arts. Their daughter, Karen Eterovich McGuire, describes that theirs was definitely, quote, a marriage of two artists and how the art of one complemented the art of the other, end quote. Both kept journals recapping details of their trips to New York, their studies, and reactions to the city and all its facets. Eterovich's journal, displayed nearby in this gallery, combines his observations of the New York art scene and its architecture with names and phone numbers of people he met and drawings of dancers and gallerists. After attending productions of Where's Charlie with Ray Bolger, Kiss Me Kate, Michael Todd's Beep Show, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and Detective Story, Eterovich wrote, quote, the theater is at its fullest in New York City, opulent, awesome, yet wondrously detailed, effortless, by people who live the theater. Great mobility of expression, style, design are felt throughout, end quote. He would translate this awe of the theater and the expressive power of its performers in the thickly layered surfaces of his paintings. In Alice's journal from this same time period, she mentions that Martha Graham told her to study modern art. Likewise, dance, and especially modern dance, was to hold an influence over Eterovich for his entire professional life. This can be seen in the painting Trio Festiva within this gallery, and also in the etching above of Martha Graham and Eric Hawkins made during the time of their summer residencies. Photorealism. During the late 1960s, photorealism became a popular painting trend. Richard Estes, born in 1932, was among the American painters who embodied this movement, and Eterovich admired Estes' brand of hyperrealistic cityscapes a great deal. Not one to ignore a challenge, Eterovich thinned his paints to achieve the equivalent of a photograph's emulsion surface. His formidable drawing skills are evident throughout this series. His lines of perspective and reflective surfaces are flawless, as are the overlays of color and positioning of figures to create scenes that resemble stage sets, perhaps in reference to his love of theater. Photorealism emerged in reaction to abstract painting. In Cleveland, from 1957 to 1961, Howard Wise operated a gallery on Euclid Avenue that celebrated abstract expressionist artwork. When he moved his business to New York, a writer for the Cleveland Plain Dealer opined that Cleveland was not, quote, ripe enough to support the level of artists Wise exhibited. This motivated Anthony Eterovich to submit a letter to the editor, responding that in Wise's gallery, quote, the abstract, non-objective vein was primarily promoted. While it was hoped that there would also be presented works of more vigorous opposing directions, nevertheless, it was the privilege of Wise to present his particular choices, end quote. Photorealistic painting would certainly have qualified as a vigorous opposition to abstract art, as it sought to reference photography's exactitude while challenging traditional photography's perceived limitations.